you. Thank you. I didn't realize you were going to give such a long introduction, but thank you so much. I humbly accept. I'm really excited to meet so many people. Some of them I recognize, some of them are people I've not met before. So welcome to this program. I'm hoping it'll be interesting for you. I've also been following certain webinars that Shenzhen has done before, and I'm hoping that you were able to tune in and get the benefit of them. Very, very relevant topics, and something that goes as feeders in all our careers and information, and how do we prepare ourselves for the next. So before I get started, I would love to hear from you in the chat box, or if you unmute yourself. What is it that you would look forward to from a session? Like, when you came to the session, when you heard of intentionality of careers, what came to your mind? What interested you in the session? So that I'm sure that I will cover some bit of that or address it. Go ahead and type. I think we have the time. I would love to hear from all of you on how does this work for you. All of you are able to use the chat facility? How to shape careers, okay?
So Amita also written, actually picking up a career path of own choice. I think she sent it on the chat. So,
okay. Anything specifically that you feel you want to, something that you feel stuck in, and you feel that that's been a deterrent for you to get the career that you really wanted. Okay, picking up a career path of your own choice. Okay. So let me get started, and I would love for you to send in questions during the chat, in the chat anyways, and let's see how we are able to address them. So quickly, let me share my screen. Fear whether I will. Okay, thank you for sharing that. I think this probably is not just your fear, but a lot of us feel when we second guess ourselves. So let's see how we are able to address it. So quickly, this is a word, intentionality. I think I learned 10 years back. I used to work with Accenture, and then I heard it from one of the first career, diversity career consultants, Aftar, if some of you have known the name. And so I would give them the credit for teaching me about what is intentionality of careers. I currently work with Publicis Sapient. We are a digital transformation organization. I lead their inclusion and diversity portfolio for India. And it is my role to ensure that our workplace in Publicis Sapient is diverse. We have more women, we have people who have caregiving responsibility, who are parents or elderly care people, or take care of an ailing dear person, people who may have mental health challenges, and hence, we need to be more mindful. People with disabilities or different abilities, people from completely different background, cultural, religious, generations background, right? And the LGBTQ community. So that is what it is about. And when we think of vulnerable groups, underrepresented groups at work, what is it that we really like to empower them with? And that's what this session is about. I will focus on how are we feeling about it, how do we think about it, what's the ingredient or the secret sauce that goes into it. So first, I would like for all of you to answer these two questions, right? One, who are you? You may or may not want to mention your name, but if you can just say one detail that describes who you are. It could be something you're fond of, a detail that you're happy or fond of, or anything else that describes you. And then second is, what does success mean to you? And these are important questions to answer at this point of time. So please go ahead, take the time to answer these two questions for you and share. People's person who's always, a people's person who always wants to be at the top of her game. Okay, interesting. So this is about a person who feels that they want to be top of their game. Okay. All the others, can you please answer the questions? Who are you? And what does success mean to you? Murli, is there a way we can unmute people just for this little time where they can answer this?
Yeah, they can unmute and speak also. I have given the
Okay.
option to, if anybody want to speak out, you can unmute and speak.
Okay. Follower of good vibes, a perfect balance of professional and personal life. Thank you for sharing that. Others, please tell us who do you think you are? Like, who are you? How do you describe yourself? And what does success mean to you? I can see quite a few names, so I would love to see, quite a few answers. Okay, you're passionate. Any other answers? Passionate and motivated. Okay, this is who I am. So that's my identity. Excellent. I'm a friendly person, and success for me means being happy and giving happiness to others. Excellent. It talks about a purpose. So that's who I am, and this is what success means to me. People's person, and success is being happy. I'm really, really happy to see this clarity when all of you are talking. And the others can actually see the diversity in the answers that we are getting. Anybody else, please share. An emotional and self-motivated person, and success means being satisfied with my work. Okay, so there's contentment and satisfaction with my own work. And this is a person who thinks they are emotional, and I'm hoping they are thinking about being emotional as a strength, because it is. Energy, life, and happiness defines me. Success relates to more challenges. Okay, so I'm successful when I'm able to respond to more challenges. I like to do things differently and not be a part of any crowd. Excellent. Okay.
I'm getting directly to me, so I'm just copy pasting that.
Sure. That's fine. I can understand that. So the person says energy and life and happiness is who I am, right? And if I can do things uniquely, then that's my success. Anybody else? So hello Vikas, I can see your answer. Success means positive acknowledgement. Awesome. It means that somebody else positively, pleasantly recognizes and acknowledges my work. Very, very good. Okay. So I just wanted all of you to, see the diversity of how people see success, right? I am just navigating some bit of the technical this thing. So like Murli said, you can unmute or you can chat in this thing. I will try and respond to most of it. Sudha says, a person who could always be reached for help. This is who I am. And success is happiness and feeling of content, right? I want all of you to remember what was your own answer. If you've shared it, great. If you haven't, that's also great. No problem. The questions to ponder when we think of intentionality of careers. Are we choosing our career, or is our career choosing us? Right? How does one ensure career satisfaction when future becomes disruptive and tougher to predict? When I have no control over what is happening in the whole career space, how am I supposed to be intentional? How am I going to choose a career? Right? That's the discussion that we will have. What can you expect out of the case? Hopefully, you will be more self-aware and motivated. It will equip you with skills like goal setting, flexibility, persistence, resilience, time management. Help individuals strategically direct their careers, right? Be strategic in your careers. Align individual career strategies with broader organizational goals and needs, right? We'll talk a little bit about that. Offer forward-thinking guidance to those struggling with navigating their own careers, right? So I'm talking about the first word, intentionality of career. So what is intentionality? Intentionality implies that we are choosers. We are not beggars, right? There are always, my counseling teacher used to say that there's a theory that says at any point of time, you have 16 options to choose from to make a decision. So first, you have to know, especially when you're stuck and you're thinking, I'm stuck between two bad choices or have only one bad choice. Remember, there are always a variety of choices. And we have the ability to personally select them. What generally happens is we've probably not thought of certain options because it's not striked us at this moment. Or, like it says, not every career decision has a trade-off and an opportunity cost. Either you say yes to something or you don't, there's an opportunity cost. And it doesn't mean that choosing everything that comes our way under the sun is going to leave us very satisfied. So just because an opportunity has come to you, and you say yes to it, is actually going to be the most satisfying, right? Why is that? Because we may not be happy with that choice. It may not give us, the satisfaction or the feeling of success that we want to see, right? So let's see how we get there. I think I'll move this. Okay. Let's talk about the first word in this blue bubble, joy. What is joy? And for people who are probably on thinking about their career journey, I think joy comes from freedom, which also has purpose, and especially when it is supported by people around, which is our community. So joy to me is equal to being free, making a free choice with purpose and something that is supported by people around me, right? At the same time, there is no single right answer for everybody's career. Like all of you mentioned, there's, somebody wants something else, somebody wants something else. A lot of time, look at these bubbles. We are actually looking at career choices as, okay, I want to be the CEO of an organization. I want to be a self-employed business owner. I want to be part-time corporate worker, or, because that's how, I can manage my time, or I want to be a stay-at-home mom or, father, right? Really, what the world really needs more of is probably people who exercise joy, who operate out of joy while making choices, who say this is what will truly make me happy, and understand that only when they make happy choices can they attain finally what they can call successful, right? Something that's, like I said, it is coming from with freedom of choice, with purpose that we connect with, and with the intention, with the support of the community at large, right? So we are not looking at people who have these labels. So when you're looking at a career choice, maybe you want to consider that the world doesn't need more CEOs or self-employed people or part-time workers, stay-at-home moms, software technologist, HR business partner, HR head, and others. The world probably needs more people who make career choices out of joy. So think about it, right? When we are being intentional, I think the approach matters, right? So there is a three-pronged rule which probably really helps in growing in your career. And I totally stand by this, right? A lot of times you will have choices to pick from which are not really your first choice, right? And you can't say no to every opportunity, and maybe you should not, right? Not everything we choose is the right this thing. At the same time, being intentional means if you have finally aligned yourself that this is what I want to do, this is the best I have at this point of time, become action oriented, right? I would encourage all of you to actually write down your goal. I actually have a very nice balcony garden, and now it started attracting a lot of birds. This was my lockdown journey, so you might hear some birds in the background. If it gets too much, I'll go ahead and shoo them off. So a mark of a successful person is to be strategic. So you actually get to write strategic goals. So write down without fear, what is it that is your goal? And don't listen to others who say this is a small goal, this is too big, this is this doesn't seem like a very fancy goal. Doesn't matter. This is your goal, but this is my strategic goal. I want to grow as an HR professional. It's probably a great goal to have. I want to devote time and contribute to a certain area of work that interests me, and I have it. I want to become, for me, I sometimes know, and I think that aligns with my purpose. I do want to become a counselor and therapist full time at some point of time in my life, but I also love this work that I do. And hence I create a balance, right? Stop, stop pursuing work-life balance. I think a balance is right in that moment. There is no real answer of balance. There are solutions that people share with you that has worked for them, and you can keep experimenting on what works for you, right? But stop saying that I just need work life balance and hence I can't do anything. It's controversial. It's controversial coming from me, but I would like to explain myself. Be a smart worker. There is never going to be work which will be 24/7, 365 days. It doesn't happen that way. Work always comes in waves. There is a lot and there is always a trough, and then it peaks again. A smart worker will make sure they are able to work through some of those waves, right? A smart worker is able to rest during the trough and is actually able to navigate and say, okay, during this time, I'm just going to take off. That is important. So don't be afraid to work into that extreme work environment, right? Because I think the most creative, the best times, if you look back at your careers and you've worked for some time, the most enjoyable, fun time that you've really enjoyed in your career comes from some extremes, mostly, right? It is sometime, and it's almost like insane how how you might have actually done this together with with greater teams or smaller teams. I remember in the first 2 3 years that I worked, and I was in Delhi. I used to work with Fiki, and we used to all go from different departments to help some massive conferences that I did. And one of my most enjoyable fun time was to work for a 10,000 people diaspora NRIs conference that with the government of India. And in Delhi, I used to come back home at 2 o'clock in the night. But of course, office at that point of time would ensure we had very reliable drivers. I was dropped back home. And it is insane, right? But I also want all of you to understand, when you live in the middle, when you don't want to push yourself to the extreme, you're always iffy. You will never make an extraordinary time commitment to anything. So I've written marinate on that phrase. What does it mean to you? Are you going to be okay that you never gave your best and extraordinary effort to anything? Because that will also affect the way your career choices go. So don't shy away from taking on difficult, sometimes extreme things. Just know in your heart that there's always a peak and a trough. I will tell you one more quick story. There was a time I had taken a break, and that break extended quite a bit. And finally, I got a job interview for an organization that I thought I wanted to work for. And the first question in my interview came from a a senior recruitment firm, a lead. And he said, Vieshaka, they work from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Are you going to be okay with that? And I said, no, I will not be okay with that. Because, and then I explained, I said, I don't think anybody can humanly work from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 5-6 days a week. It doesn't work. What really happens is, there's a lot of whiling away time. There's a lot of let's just have breakfast and dinner together kind of time, etc. But if I'm going to focus on my work, I will ensure everything will be done and I will still be able to go back home on time. And I had a young child, and I told him that I really want to pursue the opportunity, but I'm also very sure that I will not sit in office till 9 o'clock. What I can guarantee is I will ensure the work is done. By the way, 4 meetings after that, I got that job and I pursued that organization. So think about it. Are you going to be pushing yourself to take that extraordinary? Start saying no so you can say yes. What does this mean? It means that you don't have to say yes to every opportunity just because it's come to you, right? If you are in an okay position and you really want something, and be intentional and say no to something else. Sometimes you'll have these smaller projects, and I'll explain that sometimes you will have to take up something that you originally didn't think that this is what you wanted to do, and that's okay to say yes to that. However, if you're in an okay position and you really want to intentionally go for a certain career journey and you can see it around, it is okay to say no. And the moment you say no, you'll have a sense of loss. At the same time, when you say yes to the right things or the right people to work with, or a right network to get into, that will amplify, because that's where your passion lies. That's what your heart wants. Quickly, this is very close to my heart, and from the previous side, I wanted to explain this. Careers are a marathon. It is not a sprint. You can't have one buff and have a success and then and it just goes on. It doesn't work like that. Careers are a marathon. Why? Because it's a combination of the human, and human beings go through peak and troughs, and careers go through that. And if you are going to just discount the human being and think about the opportunity, it doesn't work. If you're going to discount the opportunity and think only about the human being, it doesn't work. The combination work. And sometimes there are troughs, more lows than highs. If you're just persistent through it, this marathon will work for you. So if you're looking at, oh my God, I'm going to just lose something, or I just want it because I want that promotion right now. For me right now, it's just the promotion. It doesn't work like that, which is why I'm also saying careers are not ladders, but zigzags, right? Ladders are about just moving up in one vertical. What happens there is you lack depth, because you've not really gone the full cycle to know anything. It also makes the person a little myopic, because the career vision is myopic, right? You're only looking at a very small hole, right? You've rat-holed your whole career journey. A lot of people will start thinking that I don't want to learn this because it's not going to my goal. You will miss out on opportunities that will make you a more wholesome careerist person. So think of careers as zigzags. You sometimes have to go slanting to reach the next level, which is probably in a vertical space above. I always think that people, while they should definitely be looking at promotions as a recognition, I personally think promotions should not be looked at career growth or personal growth, because it is growth in terms of a designation, yes, but it may or may not be growth for the person. If you're not ready for it, fine, you've got the designation, but you've not really seasoned. If you put too much thought into just a promotion or a designation, you may lose out enjoying the work that you're doing and enjoying what will take you to the next level. So that's something I would really like you to consider. We spoke about this. Success means different things to different people. A lot of us in the Gen X group, I think success was defined by what our parents wanted us to be successful to do. So when people went to different countries, when people made choices to marry, when people studied certain engineering, medical, corporate courses, I think we had a very set definition of what success is going to mean. I am extremely happy when you spoke about success in the chat box. That's an evolved conversation, because it may not mean happiness to me. So don't think of what is happiness to somebody else, because that's not your success goal. So success means to you what your voice is telling you. So think about that and write it down. And when you write what is your success, then look at what are the options of your career that will help you reach there. So when I said write down, what is your long-term vision, right? Do you want to become a refined professional in a certain field? A lot of us confuse career with money and designation. That's why I actually wrote down CEO and other labels. We don't need those. We need people who are operating out of joy when they look at careers. How do you want to utilize your abilities that you already have in short term, medium term, and long term? Okay. How you, because those are not dictated by role or money or power that's coming from somewhere else. What is your goal? Just write that down. It's a basic vision exercise that you're doing. Write down how do you want to utilize your abilities, right? I also want to share that actually writing down with a pen and paper or a pencil and paper has a lot of power your mind on making it possible. So I would truly encourage you to do this. Okay, what are the secret sauce for making it all happen, right? Equip yourself to face personal and professional hurdles, right? So somebody said, I am not sure if I can get there. There are people who get stagnant or stuck in a certain thing. Look at yourself and, make your own judgment on what is my personal or professional hurdle, right? At certain point of time, I'm going to tell you this. I would just lose a lot of um, confrontational and conflict situations just because I was told you raise your voice. And a lot of times I didn't even realize that my voice would, get raised. And I read up on Google. I realized that there's some threat mechanism. That's why it happens. But I have only realized when the other person has told me that you're raising your voice and it's getting uncomfortable. But by that time, I've lost that argument or discussion. So that is what led me to do my first course on NLP, which led me to study mental health for 5 years because I loved how this area of study could help somebody reach, really, really expand their personal potential. So why I told you this story is there are things like this you could do. Invest in yourself just like you would do for your child or for a very, very dear one. Learn to stand for each other in support, right? Not just learn to stand up for yourself. Learn to stand for each other. This is your way of building your network and community. Learn to share knowledge. When somebody mentioned working with Pride, this network grew because there were professionals who simply shared resources, presentations, research material, just out of the joy of sharing and ensuring the other person comes to the same page. There was no money involved. There was no expectation that you will really glorify me because I gave it to you. But there was the expectation that you'll give me credit if you were to share it somewhere else. That's about it. So share knowledge. It expands your network. It expands. It makes you feel good, and all of that knowledge will also come back to you, right? Learn to break prejudices, right? When you are growing your network, when you're taking up different roles, jobs, when you're thinking of career choices, you might want to think if a lot of times we limit our options by just thinking, is it the right thing to do? Log kya kahenge? What will somebody tell me if I don't get this promotion, right? It doesn't matter if your heart wants something else and you are happy where you are. I think that's fine. Learn to speak up and raise your voice for help when needed, and learn in spite of tiring schedule. I think this is very, very important. I think people who will really, really shine and will go ahead, and after you've made your plan, are people who will learn, right? So all of you have invested this time, and I'm very, very humble that you thought this will help. This, I have been putting in time, and in spite of really, really blocked schedules, because this is my feeling, this is sharpening the axe. So even if you're feeling tired, and I don't mean you die but you keep doing webinars, etc., but whenever you can, please push yourself to learn, because learnability is a skill that will see us through. That is probably the most important skill for career success. As you grow, a lot of leaders will tell you that coachability or ability for a person to learn is their secret to the next level, because then you know that, okay, fine, if I guide them, they will able to receive it. Okay. Build your network, initiate contact with a specific person or specific people. There's a little bit of English, this thing there. I think it's very, very important that you share your goal, right? I know a few people here who are a part of some of my community work. And it is not social work. It is really just getting people socially together without an agenda, just to be friends with a common interest. It could be about the LGBTQ advocacy. It could be about single parenting, one of the groups I have. It could be about mothers group, single women groups, different women professionals group, diversity and inclusion group, HR groups. These are all, groups that one can be part of, in my network. And all of these give me avenues to initiate contact when I need, right? um, and it is important that you just be there. Don't get so bogged down with WhatsApp messages, etc. Do it at your pace. That's fine, right? Managing yourself is something that's easier. Managing somebody else is a difficult job. So manage your time, your network, but invest in it, right? When you have a network, when you have a person in your network, be specific and tell them what you want. Don't assume people already know. Yeah, that person knows I want to grow in that role, so when they have a role, they didn't tell me. There's no point in doing this once that role is gone. Maybe that person didn't think. I really get into a lot of discussions, I forget. But if you were to ping me and tell me, Vishakha, can you do this for me, or would you be okay, I will probably be more than happy to help that, right? If you want to be the lead on that high profile change management project, express your interest. I've heard this so many times from leads saying that they never told me and I didn't think of it, right? If you want to be introduced to someone who works at a company you admire, ask your connection if they would be willing to make that introduction, right? Professionally, personal introductions, ask. You have to plant the seed so that the other person thinks of you and takes action. Sometimes you just have to remind people of you, and don't feel bad because everybody really is clogged with different things. So this is more or less what we had. In terms of timing, my advice would be, wherever you're spending time, ask yourself, does this task help me achieve my goal? You have a goal now. You have short term, medium term, long term goal. If not, then you might want to politely say no, right? Or find a way for somebody else to do it if you think it's important. If you're unsure, keep it on a back burner saying that I'm not sure, but let me try, right? If you're unsure about this, it's going to affect your journey. Just like if you're unsure of what your career goal is, it is going to affect your journey. Okay, this is really something that I wanted to speak to women leads, people who are successful where they are, right? And Murli and I were discussing that this is right? A lot of women as they grow, right, and a lot of people from vulnerable or underrepresented groups as they grow and they become successful, they don't want to talk about the struggle. Women don't want to talk about the feminine aspect, don't want to talk about their family or their work-life balance. You should. Please don't shy away from that. Actually talk about it so that somebody else looks at as their own model, because that's when they can relate to you. Be a mentor. Join a women leadership group. Do some sweat equity there, right? Show those coming up behind you how you prioritize. Share your rationales for personal and professional boundaries, and be intentional in these realms that you are in your career decision. So basically, it's for people like all of us to say that, okay, these are the hard choices I made. These are these were easier things to be done. These were not. I actually talk a lot about how I was in a dilemma when my son was born, because he's 11 and a half years old, and we all had that guilt of, am I going to go back to the workplace or not, right? And how a counselor, one of my counselors and professional mentors in the organization said, Vishakha, nobody can spend entire 24 hours with anybody, be it your child or husband or anybody else. So it is better that you spend quality time. And if your heart is happier working, go ahead and do it. But ensure the time that you have with your child is really, really cherished and memorable. And then you would have done your job, right? These things are to be shared. I think it helps people come up. And I would seriously speak to women leaders to say, share your struggle, personal struggle, professional struggle, because it helps the others see their way through. So this is more what I had. Um, I did a monologue because I wasn't sure how much the chat is going to work earlier, and Ankita said we can take the questions later. I would love to hear questions and point of views, and I'm happy to pass on the presentation to Murli to send it to all of you.
Thank you, Vieshaka. That was really insightful. Guys, what we are doing is we can spend, I think, 10 to 15 minutes in questions. So in case you have any questions, anything you want to ask, if you want to unmute yourself, please go ahead and do it so that we can have a dialogue. And yeah, I think the session is open for question and answers now.
Yes. So please go ahead and unmute yourself and you can ask your questions.
Right.
Yeah, Vishaka, it's a fantastic session. I think I'm sure people are writing questions. While they're asking questions, Vishaka, I have a interesting thing when you mentioned about you know uh, create your time for learning while you're tired, work schedule and all the stuff, right? So you know I think it's working out better, looks like, in today's situation where people are not spending on traveling, and then while they're really tired, but still they have a time to learn a lot. So any specific tips you wanted to give to the team, on the COVID times, and these are the three things they can learn?
Oh, that's an awesome question. Thank you so much. And I wouldn't assume that working from home necessarily, as we are today, is actually going to give people a lot of time, because I think a lot of time people are also doing a lot more than, because, when you're on your laptop and you don't really have to go for a coffee break with your friend, or lunch is faster when you're only at home, right? And then you just keep doing one call after the other. Any break you see in your calendar gets booked. I mean, that's what is happening to a lot of us. However, I would say that this has definitely opened up, because we were in that total lockdown time. I think we started getting access to a lot of things. So you can have online content, Coursera, edX, LinkedIn Learning they have excellent courses. Frankly, I've been recommending leadership related courses, communication courses, HR courses, courses in my domain, right, to people, and people have been giving me excellent feedback. You don't even have to pay for a certified version if you don't want to, but go ahead and do that. Spend time. There are also podcasts, right? Go ahead and do that. Somebody was actually telling me a tech training that they're doing, Python and others, just on YouTube, right? So, and then don't do it all the time. Like, don't sleep on it, right? I think it's very, very important that during the lockdown, you structure your time. Very important. Don't get up too late. Don't sleep very late. A lot of us are in that zone where we feel, okay, fine, now that we don't have to go to office, people are binge watching till 2 a.m. What happens is, half of your next day goes in recovering from that. So invest in self-care, invest in a structure, get up, make your bed, do whatever, and then keep a time aside only to learn, right? It can be any course that you wanted to do. There are books, there are videos, there are self-paced courses. You can also do live courses. And like I said, don't forget self-care.
Fantastic. Yeah. Not sure why people are not writing anything, but
No problem.
Hi, Vieshaka. This is Vikas. I thought it's a well-organized session, and I think a lot of thoughts were very practical. And as I recall in my own professional life behind. I think there were career breaks which women were always scared of. And, whether I was a part of very large organization or a smaller organization, women were also wondering that these career breaks because of, family commitments was cause hamper their career, So if you could just help all of us with how to manage the career breaks during these periods, or so that you are relevant also, you connected also, at the same time you can handle all your responsibilities.
Say that again. Are you asking me how women can navigate their career choices versus personal commitments?
Yeah, because at some point of time they have to take career breaks, and these breaks become sometimes very deterrent to your career itself. So how you could be able to manage that, like you also mentioned you had a child, so how would you be able to manage the career break so that you still remain relevant? That's a question I get from almost all women fraternity, and when people also go in for, even when they're getting married, they have this dilemma in mind.
Okay. So again, I'll share experiences than advice, and I think people will find their own way if they are operating out of joy and intentional. So the first thing is generally what happens at a career stage or a life stage thing when you're getting married and it's a big life event. What we sometimes call life changing event. Um, you have a child or you have a parent or a parent-in-law or a dear person that needs to be taken care of, like an ailing person, and it falls on the women of the house to be the caregivers, or relocation of a spouse, etc. Right? um, I shared with you my example. So I actually had a very good mentor who mentioned to me that it is about time management, and that worked for me. I would say, if don't first of all, don't think that you don't have a choice. People always have a choice. There are always choices. Remember this. There's a psychological theory that says every point of time you have 16 choices to make of what you will do with your time and how you will behave, or what you will choose, what is an option you will choose. And choose is a better word than decide, because decide means that I've just made a choice, I can't go back. Choice is out of freedom. You breathe better when you say, okay, I'm making a choice, which means I'm free to choose, right? I'm not a beggar, I'm a chooser. Second thing is speak up. So in a personal situation, your family or your core office colleagues who need to support you in some of these, you have to consult them, and sometimes you have to coach them. Sometimes you have to make a choice that sometimes you might have to stand up against a certain choice that they are forcing on you, and then that in some time they will fall aligned to you, right? So I think first is to feel empowered. Second is to actually run towards what you really need or want, right? Don't give up on what you truly wish for. Once you are very clear of what is it that you wish for, like for example, I used to lead the engagement team for 11,000 people at the point of time when I had my son. I really wanted it. It was my largest canvas of work. And what I did is, till my son was about 5 years, I actually deferred promotions and stuff, and I never regretted it. Okay. I was happy to pick up things that work for me. For a 6 months time, I actually stayed in a foreign country because my husband had this assignment. My son was very small and it would have worked for me to work from home. So I took up a global role way back in 2011, where global roles were side roles in India. And it, out of sight, you was out of mind. People forgot you for promotions, etc. But that was something that worked perfectly for my life and my career goal. And I wanted to get exposure in a global organization. The global work exposes you to different countries, and it's a very, very different ball game. How you behave, what you say, what they expect out of you. And that has also made me who I am. I work with many countries, and at that point of time, that's what I did, which is 10 years from now, right? So go ahead and hold your dream. Don't let go of it. if you take a break, there is no issue with that. I had another friend who took a 3 years break. And when she came back, because she was so good at her job, she said that all my colleagues have gone to the next level. And I think, being a mother, I've also learned so much. And I would like to apply for the next level role and come back at the next level. And, you can evaluate me as a new candidate. And that organization actually went around their policy to get her back. And she was only super successful from there. So don't let go of your goal. Strive hard. Even if, like I said, you might have to go slanting sometime, but go ahead. Even if you take a break, there's nothing to say that after a break, it kills you. It kills you or your career, or it really affects your career journey, because if you stop learning. So if you've taken a break, you can still do freelance work. You can keep doing courses. You can keep in touch with what is happening in the tech world. If you stop learning, that's when you stop growing. So I would advise people to keep investing in themselves as they're taking a break as well. And then come back, because organizations are requiring women to come back to work. And there is no dearth. I can assure you there's no dearth of opportunities. It's about us positioning there. So get somebody to help you go back to interviews. I do that a lot of times, help people say the right thing for the interviews when they're coming back from career break. All of you here can help people build their confidence when they're coming back from a break. And then we can, change the ecosystem of jobs as well. So a long answer, but I'm very, very passionate about this topic. So
yeah.
Thank you. Thanks.
Hi Vieshaka, this is Shruti. I have one question. Like, we all have our ups and downs in terms of career, and if we have our success, so we always work with more positivity. But when we are facing some downs in our career, so why we always step back and we don't feel like working with that much rigor. So if you can give some advice in terms of managing both the things, success as well as failures also.
sure. So I'll tell you what, sometimes it may be your personal stuff that has spilled into your professional life. Sometimes it's your personal, professional, whatever is going on in your professional space that spills into your personal life. And we should not, I don't think you can compartmentalize. I think we're human beings, the energy will flow. So remember something, and this is something I learned, and I do a lot, right? You have to ensure that you invest in all your life. So let me give you a thought, right? We are about our careers, but our careers are not our only identity. I want you to remember this. Your identity is about your careers, your family, your social life. Like, if you didn't have any friends, but you had a great career, who will you share it with, right? Your relationships. Invest in your relationships, romantic ones and others. Make more friends, right? Finances. You've had a great career, you love it, but you've not been able to build your financial security. It won't make you feel good. It is about wealth. It is about learning. It is about, maybe something that's your hobby. Hobbies fuel us like nothing else. If you're really passionate about a certain hobby, I would say, please invest in it. Please invest in it like your life depended on it. Why? Because when, like some of you said, it could be, the severest case is when you really go through a mental health challenge, but it could be milder where you just don't feel motivated, right? A colleague has said something or behaves in a certain way, and you don't want to give up on the job, but they are behaving nasty and you've raised your voice. So Tanvi, you're saying, I feel low, and not growing while working continues to be there, right? Invest in other parts of your life so that your life keeps going on, and that should motivate you back into this. So sometimes you have to just lie low, prepare your strategy for the next, right? And at that point of time, you should not feel empty. And how will you do that? By investing in other parts of your life, right? By looking at, if you want to pursue arts, music, you want to, be with, build human connections. You want to, build a relationship that stays with you. You want to build your relationship back with your parents, siblings, pick up on your financial security, right? Get a financial planner and other people to help you. pick up other pieces of your life which continues to fuel with passion. So I think in feeling low, feeling bad in one part of life can be fueled to no extent by passion from something else. So keep that passion alive. Even if it is not just about work, it will bring you back to great work. It will keep you charged. Your energy, the quality of energy matters. So that will help.
Yeah, thank you, Vishaka. But what if sometimes, you are working so much and you give a lot of importance to work so that you're not even able to focus on anything like your passion, your hobbies, you're not able to do it because you're so much involved mentally also and you have so much stress of work. So how to deal with it? Like how to
Yeah. So see, I will, I will just request you to consider that to invest everything. See, we invest, when we come to a situation like this where we've invested everything and we don't and can't invest in something else, it's a choice. It's a choice because we want something, we want to feel successful, and hence I will put everything in this and I will not put anything outside, right? And it's not a choice that yields well. And hence make a slightly different choice. Say that no, I mean, this is not everything. It's not a great choice to put, never put all your eggs in the same basket, because you're expecting something else to come out of it. Maybe a promotion, maybe a recognition, maybe you want to prove something to somebody else, or something else, right? But is this your life? Your life is much larger. So invest in, actually take off. Like sometimes, I'll tell you, I've been, I'm actually working on a global project, and I sometimes do 2 a.m. nights. And sometimes I just shut down my system and force myself to go out in the evening, because I know there's work pending, which I'll have to do later in the evening. But you do that because you want fresh air, you meet your friends, you're talking to people. I spend a certain time just with my mother, because I felt that a lot of time we just got so engrossed with our careers, we didn't. And today, a lot of time when I'm low, my mother picks me up and says, okay, fine, now you go. Can I make something for you? You will need those friends. You will need those people in your family. You will need that hobby when you retire. You will, the head of HR of my organization, who's also my mentor and my boss, she and I actually discuss certain art projects together, right? So she was telling me, I'll send you this YouTube thing and you can do this. And that, I think, is more, a more comprehensive, well spent human life. So consider it. This is my solution.
yeah,
And
thank
we'll
you
see
so
how
much.
this
That
goes.
really, really helped. Yeah, thank you so much.
Sure. I can see Harshit saying, how can we become bolder in changing jobs or career path, as many people cannot come out of the stigma when they become comfortable in a job? Yeah. Opportunity cost. Remember when I talked about every choice has a cost, right? I am not very, I'm never going to propagate that, just because something is not working well, you've not let that job season with you, right? I think every job, every assignment teaches us something. It's important we spend the time to learn that. But there is a very, very good opportunity, right? That excites us, but this job is very secure. Remember, the sine curve, when, you will peak at a time and then it has to fall, right? At some point of time. Before the fall, if you start a new sine curve, it gets you to the next peak. So remember when I said, unless and until you find the courage to do something extreme, you are not going to commit yourselves to something extraordinary. So the choice of being stable but stagnant is about being in the middle but not being able to do anything extraordinary. I think about it. Do I feel okay with it? If I don't, then make that different choice of a career move, a different role, a different job, a different team. And sometimes those things will not work, but every time you're successful or you're unsuccessful, you'll learn. So you will have grown. If you remember that, I think it will work for you.
I think we have a couple of questions have come up.
I'm trying to read through them.
Yeah.
Even though what you're doing currently seems fine, but what if you want something else to do? Is it okay to switch career? How should one proceed with a transition from one career to another? Okay. Let me share my career journey. I studied environment management. I didn't study HR. And then I used to work in Delhi in the cream of positions, which was on environment management with multinational governments, etc. And then I came to Bangalore and I led CSR because the environment scene was very thanda. This is 2004. We only had back offices. So I picked up CSR. While doing CSR, I led CSR, and then my boss said, I think you need a much larger portfolio. And then I picked up HR because I like interacting with people. And, you know, my boss literally taught me the ropes of HR. I started doing talent acquisition, got into business partnering. And from there, I've worked with on different strategic projects. And today I lead inclusion and diversity. I've done global roles, L&D and others. I think if you want to do something else, go ahead and do it. Remember, become action oriented. If it is interested you, take the risk. Take the risk because it will make you more confident. If not anything else, you would have the confidence that I've done something like this before. So go ahead and take the risk. If you feel that this interests you, go ahead and do it. I had picked up a global role only because I wanted a global role. In fact, one of my first global roles, I didn't even realize what it was totally, because it was a very evolving, ambiguous organization restructure work. I did that role for 4 years, never a dull moment, right? But initially it started by us defining what job descriptions are going to be. But because I was very sure I wanted a global exposure, it worked for me superbly. So you will learn. So go ahead and do it. Okay.
There is a question on, as I've given some insights about mentorship, I wanted to hear it from you. How important is being a mentor in career?
Okay, Sri Charan, very good question. I think I would have learned more from my reporting team members and in a mentorship relationship than I would have learned from assignments. It's that powerful. It's that powerful. So when I said, please contribute your sweat equity, which is to contribute your time, which is to contribute your effort, anything you've learned, you share. That's what sweat equity is. It will make you grow like nothing else. Managing people, helping others, because the more you understand somebody, only then you can be their mentors. And once you help others go through their challenges and overcome it, you would have learned like nothing else, because now you're responsible for it, you're a part of it. But remember, you are not responsible to make them successful, right? Trust the process of life. Everyone has different choices. Sometimes people make wrong choices, even though you're telling them that I think this is not sounding the right, but stand with them. It will make you a more, I think it will make you more enriched as a person, a more powerful as a person, and you would have seen somebody else through. It does a lot to you. So anytime you get a chance to mentor anybody, a student, another peer, please go ahead and take that opportunity. Okay, being an introvert, how can one succeed and make progress in professional life while it's becoming more of a challenge in personal life? Okay, so if I understand I think there are two parts of this question. Being an introvert, how can one succeed and make progress? I think is coming from the fact that they are not very vocal in meetings, etc. I think introverts don't need additional skills. It is just it is just to tell yourself that your opinion is important. Sometimes people speak over you, they'll interrupt you, but if you're just firm, you don't have to be confrontational. But how will anybody appreciate you if they don't hear you, right? So what you could do is find ways on how you can make yourself heard. So in a meeting, if somebody else has forgotten to ask your opinion, raise your hand or type, say that I want to say something, and then they notice you. So you don't have to break through conversations. But here, like you're chatting here and we got your point, right? So utilize that. So find avenues to express yourself. I think there are in this time, there are so many people who are writing blogs. One of my colleagues actually ended up writing a book during lockdown, and when I complimented her, she was more embarrassed because she is that introvert person. She's like, oh my god, too much attention. But appreciate yourself. Be happy with compliments. Be happy to contribute. And first, please fuel your self-worth. There is no difference between an introvert and an extrovert in a professional. It's only about how you're visibly coming across. So don't have to talk so much. You can chat, you can write, you can express yourself over email so that people know you have a point of view, and that should be fine. When something is becoming more of a challenge in personal life, please talk to people and get help. If your lack of expression is becoming an issue in personal life, there are ways of navigating it. So I would recommend you speak to either a counselor or a friend or somebody you think has navigated your situation and can help you. So that's all. Okay. When do you think is the right time for those thinking breaks while you're on a go, or is it become important to apply learning in real life? I actually didn't understand the question too well. Tanvi, do you want to unmute and ask the question specifically?
Yeah, maybe while she's trying to mention that, what I understood, Vieshaka, for this is, if somebody is, the learning is part of life, when do you think that we should actually stop doing or learning everything and then start, is it really required to learn every day in life? That's what she meant for. Take
No,
some breaks.
okay. I think, no, I didn't mean it that way, that you have to see, learning happens every day in life. We have to be, recipient enough to absorb it, I feel. So uh, if you're able to introspect, let's say, few minutes in a day, it doesn't have to be a strong meditation session. You will know what you've learned today, or what you've gained, and what you can be grateful for. When it comes to actual professional functional learning, of course, you don't have to do it every day. Take a break, apply it, because applying a new learning is also learning to apply, learning to practically see how it goes. So that would be my answer. Apply things in real life and learn from it, and then do the next course or something. I think that's what she's looking at. Then we'll be happy to chat with you on LinkedIn or email, maybe, whatever works for you, if this is not the answer you were looking for.
Right. I guess for rest of us, in case you have any more questions, I'm sure as Vishaka mentioned, you'll be more than happy. She'll be more than happy to take the questions offline as well. Having said that, thank you so much, Vishaka, for today's session. I think it really made a lot of us think and go back a little and understand what we are doing in terms of our career and personal life. Having said that, thank you so much, guys, for joining in today's session. As I mentioned earlier, webinar series is ongoing, and there are a couple of very interesting webinars coming in the near future as well. So I request you all to go back on our LinkedIn page, and you'll be able to see the upcoming webinars updates as well. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, Vieshaka.